There is a foot of snow outside that fell this weekend, and so I have a snow day, so I'm making a video. I'm going to try my best this year to make a monthly wrap-up reading video, and we're going to see how it goes, but I'm making the January one, and it's only February 2nd, so far, I am doing awesome. Here are the books that I read in January. There's 4 of them. I'm proud of myself. I'm ahead of schedule on my Goodreads challenge of 45 books for the year, so that's exciting. Always good to be ahead of schedule. And I really liked all 4 of the books that I read. Go! The first book that I read this year was When Pride Still Mattered by David Maraniss. This was a Christmas present for my dad, and it is a biography of Vince Lombardi. If you don't know who Vince Lombardi is, 1, I don't know where you've been, but 2, he was the coach of the Green Bay Packers, and you know, the Super Bowl trophies named after him, and he was a pretty big deal. It's very long, and I would not recommend it to someone who's just like kind of a casual football or casual Packers fan. When Pride Still Mattered, the title is a reference to the fact that we tend to think of the olden days as like the good old days, and we hold them to a higher standard, and everything was better then, and now in sports we have all these scandals, and everything is corrupt, and no one does anything the right way anymore and stuff, and he writes about how there have always been scandals, and there have always been things wrong with the system, and then was not really any better than now. It was just a different time, there were different scandals, there were different good points, and it is our remembering of it that makes it into this good old days mentality. And so he was just trying to tell the real story of Vince Lombardi's journey, and he did a great job. He doesn't actually get to Green Bay until almost halfway through the book, which is really interesting, and it tells great stories about his relationships with the players and with his family, and the relationships that were flawed and the relationships that were good, and good things and bad things and everything. Also, I'm doing the 2015 reading challenge, which you may have seen going around on Tumblr. It's like a checklist of trying to expand your reading horizons, and so let's see which boxes I can check off. It is a book with over 500 pages. It is a nonfiction book. The second book that I read this year was Kabul Beauty School by Deborah Rodriguez, and it is another nonfiction book. The author went to Afghanistan kind of with no purpose with a nonprofit organization after 9/11 because she wanted to help, and she was in a really bad place in her personal life, so she went to Afghanistan to try and help, and she discovered that she could help empower these women who were living there by helping them to learn the skills necessary to operate a beauty salon. And the thing that I really loved about this is that it didn't read like a nonfiction book, if that makes sense. If you read a lot of nonfiction, that will probably make sense to you, but it read more like a fiction book, like a story. Always all about female education and empowerment. So, a book by a female author. A book set in another country. The third book that I read this month was Paper Towns by John Green. It's actually a reread. It's being made into a movie, and I wanted to reread it before the movie comes out because I have only read it one time. Paper Towns is my least favorite of John's books, and I'm just not that into it. It's not that compelling to me, and it's fun, and it's cute, but his other books are better. And everyone hates on Catherine's all the time, and I don't know why they don't hate on Paper Towns instead, because Catherine's is better. But I read it. Cool. Ready for the movie now. Can I check off a book that became a movie for this one yet? I don't think that I can. I'll save that one for a book that like already is a movie or something. I will check off a mystery/thriller though. A book set in high school. And the fourth book I read this month was Study Hall, College Football, Its Stats and Its Stories by Bill Connelly. It's basically what it says on the cover. It's college football, its stats, and its stories. It's a lot more of the stories than I thought that it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more of the stats, which is why I bought it, but I'm actually glad, retrospectively, that it had the stories in it. I don't know. It starts out talking about just the culture of college football overall and how it's super unique and weird and cool, and then it goes into talking about like why we love college football so much, and it talks about some of the scandal of college football, and then it talks about stats and talks about like what makes the biggest difference in college football and how you win in college football. A lot of the stats were just really intriguing to me, and they were very well explained, and it did give me a lot of ideas for activities that I could do with my sports statistics class, so that's always cool. This was like one of my favorite genres of books in 2014, was sports statistics related books, and I'm thinking it's probably going to continue being one of my favorite genres in 2015 because I have a whole stack of sports stats books to read in my TBR pile. So this is a good one. Don't read it unless you're super into college football because it's a niche book. You know? And on the list for this one, I'm going to check off a book you own but haven't read, because I've owned this for well over a year and still haven't read it until now. So pretty good. I got a lot of check marks on my list now, and I'm excited to see what February brings reading-wise. Also, I'm kind of obsessed with this filming location, mostly because I love showing off my color-arranged bookshelf, and I'm really cool. I don't know what I'm talking about. Happy reading! Bye!